Hey guys, we're after coming down south to County Wexford, and we're here at this old monastery that belonged to the High King of Leinster, Diarmaid MacMurrough, almost 1,000 years ago. So there's an archaeological dig going on here, and we're going to meet the archaeologists and the geologists who are digging up the past to see what they can find. Let's go have a look. So I found a geoarchaeologist in the wild. How you doing, Steve? Thanks for having us again.
Hi, you're very welcome. And yes, I'm in my natural habitat. I'm very happy.
Well, the first question you have is, what is a geoarchaeologist?
Yeah, it's a big word.
Yes.
So you've heard of an archaeologist.
Yeah, old stuff.
Old stuff to do with humans.
Yes, yeah.
But the geo part's a geologist. So I'm interested in rocks and how the landscape forms.
Okay.
So I started off as a geologist, and then I got sidelined into archaeology and love it.
Okay, great.
Absolutely
and you can use those two together to...
Yeah, and they're very interrelated. And in a sense, what I get to do in archaeology is bring the science into archaeology.
Fantastic. So here, can you tell us a bit about this place we're in today? I know it looks super old, but what's the story behind it?
Well, you're all very welcome to the historic town of Ferns. This was once the capital of Leinster.
Okay.
Much more important than Dublin and other places. It was a really, really important place. Now it's this gorgeous little sleepy town in the sunny southeast of Ireland. But as a geologist, I like to think about the landscape first.
Okay, yes.
And what I often do with my students is I say, have a look around you.
Yeah.
A really good question to ask if you go to places, say, why here?
Yes.
Why did they come here? Why did people come here in the past? And you can see it's a beautiful, lovely, rolling landscape. You see there's no big, sharp, angular mountains.
Yeah. No bogs.
No bogs, yeah. It's great fertile soil you can grow things in. Yeah. And this landscape has been formed by ice sheets that came across the landscape for hundreds of thousands of years, and finally went away about 15,000 years ago.
Okay, right.
A very long time ago. But that set the scene for this beautiful field and these beautiful soils that a monk called Saint Aidan came from Wales, and he started a monastery here in the year 598 AD.
That's like over 1,000 years ago.
It's a long time ago. And that monastery flourished. Yeah. It was a really, really important place. People would have come and joined the monastery. They would have prayed here. It would have become a place of pilgrimage. People would have traveled for long distances to come here and pray. And then a little community would have developed around it.
Okay,
But there's very little sign of it, because often they built out of wood then. So there's very little sign of it. And all these old buildings that we see around us now, they are old buildings, but they don't date from that period, except for a few little secrets. There's a few beautiful old high crosses here. And they're a remnant of the past.
So you could tell that there must have been people
here. They must,
back
because
then.
That's when they built those, in the early Christian period. But we do know, and we do have upstanding, we like to use the term upstanding for it, so you can see it above the ground. It's pretty clever.
Of course.
We do have upstanding old remains that are over 1,000 years old, but they're from another monastery. A monastery that's behind us here, and this is St. Mary's Church. And this was built by Diarmaid MacMurrough.
The old High King of Leinster.
The old High King of Leinster. And he'd risen to power in the middle part of the 12th century. And he built this church because he brought the Augustinians, who were a group of monks, in to establish a monastery here. And he built it on top of that old monastery that St. Aidan
Okay, so layers and layers of different things. And if you start digging down, you start finding the super old stuff.
Yes, but this is a big field.
It is very big, actually.
So where would you dig?
I'd get my shovel and I'd just start and work my way around the whole place.
How much time have you got?
That might take a while.
So we use really clever scientific techniques.
Oh, yes.
So some really clever scientists led by Dr. Ger Dowling did what's known as a geophysical survey in this site.
Geophysics? Physics?
Geophysics, yes.
Good
so
stuff.
It's geology and physics.
Yeah,
you're in your happy place now.
Yes, absolutely. So what sort of machines does he use?
So he uses a machine called a magnetometer, which detects magnetic differences in the soil.
Okay.
So we know from historical records what the monks did when they established their monastery in the 7th century. The first thing they do is they build a big ditch all the way around to define where the monastery is.
Yes.
And that ditch would have been very, very deep and very, very wide. And it would have stayed as a marker to show where the monastery was for a long time. It's
probably gone now, is it?
It's gone because it's been filled in over time.
Okay, yeah.
Or it might have been filled in one go. We don't know. It's been filled in, it's gone. But the soil that filled it in is different from the soil outside of it because there's such a long time period between them.
Okay, yes.
And they have different magnetic properties. So when you use geophysics, you can see the lines on the map where they dug those old ditches.
Okay, right. So when you look on top, the grass is the same everywhere. But
Yes.
if you use these geophysical magnety devices, you can detect the difference in the soil underneath,
Yeah,
and you can
it's really
find where
cool.
the old stuff is.
Yeah.
Super cool.
So we had that. So we were able to get a map of this area,
Okay.
and then to put the geophysics on top of it, okay, that's where it is. And we have one more piece of evidence, one more clue.
Okay.
So a guy called Richard Cochrane came here in 1912, and
Okay,
he drew what was here then.
Okay,
So
like
these-
100 years ago.
Yeah, and so this church was still there, obviously.
Yeah,
it's still there.
yeah.
But also there were some other structures here as well, bits and pieces of old
Okay,
walls,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he made a drawing of that. So we were able to take the plan of the site,
Yeah.
and then the geophysical survey, and then Richard Cochrane's drawing, put them all over, and that meant we could put small little pinholes into the ground to look for them.
Okay, wow, it is really like detective work,
It
really.
is, because otherwise we'd be digging here for forever.
Yeah.
So, would you like to see some of it?
Yeah, can we go have a look?
Great.
All right, I'm here with Emily, who's one of the archaeologists who's actually digging here. Emily, so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Dan.
Yeah, can you tell me a few things? What are we looking at? There's a big hole in the ground, lots of rocks and some bits and pieces. What can we see here? Where are we standing?
So right now we're actually standing above what we think is called the calefactory room.
Okay, calefactory room. What's that about?
So basically in this old monastery, this is the room that was used to heat the whole place, and it was the only room that had burning.
Okay, so like an oil-fired boiler or something like that, was it? Or...
We're not exactly sure, but we have identified burning over here in this pit. I don't know if
Yes.
you can see it.
Okay, yeah, over here, yeah.
Yeah, based
Cool.
on, there's like charcoal.
Oh, so you dig down and you can find stuff that's like someone was burning a fire here, so this must have been where they're doing it. Okay, cool, and I see the two big walls here. And what's this big hole over here?
So we think that's the cesspit. So
Okay, what's a cesspit for?
So that is where they sort of put their trash and garbage and
Did they poop there?
maybe.
Yes, okay, good stuff. 'Cause I thought that that's what they did in the cesspit, but everything went in there. They didn't have flushing toilets 1,000 years ago, no?
No, they did not.
Okay, and what are these little pegs? I see you have these little coloured pegs with numbers on them. What's that all about?
So the pegs are actually so that we know which area of the soil we're looking at.
Okay.
So each layer of the soil has a different number that we give to it.
Okay, so you can find what depth it was at and maybe how old it is. Cool. And what sort of? I see these weird boxes that have these strings in them. What are they for? Are they a musical instrument or?
So those are actually used so that we can draw what we see here.
Okay.
So the grid helps you be more accurate with your drawings.
Okay, so you draw what you're finding.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you need to be a little bit artistic, a little bit sciencey, and a little bit kind of good at being a detective.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Well, I hear there's another site down here. Can I go and have a look there too?
Of course.
Thank you so much. All right, so I'm down to another dig here with another archaeologist. Lizzie, thanks so much for having us down here.
You're very welcome.
Right, Lizzie, you might tell me a few things about what you're after finding in this location. It looks super busy. There's lots of people here.
Absolutely. We have quite a few different features going on, but the main one that we're really looking into is right here in front of us.
Is this a cesspit where they pooped?
It's not. It's
No.
actually probably a bit less smelly than the cesspit.
Okay, cool.
So we're hoping right now this is shaping up to be what looks like a pottery kiln.
Pottery kiln. Okay, so this is where they would have made their own pottery from clay. Mm-hmm. And how would they do that?
So essentially what you're looking at right here, where there's the circular portion
Yeah.
of it, that is more or less, think of it as like the oven, the portion where
Okay,
you're actually
yeah.
firing the pottery and where all of the, like, when it becomes solidified, that's the oven right in there.
Yes.
And then going out this way, sort of where Tegan is over there, this little channel,
Yeah.
we're thinking that that is a flue. So that would have been where air would have been sucked in to make sure that the temperature gets hot enough so that you're actually
Okay.
baking the pottery to a point where it actually becomes hardened and is
Oh, right.
able to be used.
And that would have been like super advanced technology like 1,000 years ago to be able to
Absolutely.
make pottery like that. Super exciting. Well, I really hope that turns out to be a pottery kiln for you because
Us
I can visualize it here. And I think it's so exciting that like this was just covered in grass and you didn't know what was here.
No
Like,
idea.
Yeah, and then you just dug down and you see it here. But you had some sort of clues from the, what is it, the geophys you call it?
Yes. So the geophys is essentially, if you think of it as like X-raying the ground,
Okay.
that can show some areas where there might be matter or other things like structures that are underneath everything that you're looking at, the topsoil. And so what's been interesting about this cutting in particular is that a lot of the geophys indications that we initially started out with are not matching what we're actually finding when we're digging. So especially over there in that corner, there was a line that would have showed potentially what was thought to be like a continuation of a wall that was found in the cutting further down that way in the field last season. And as we've been digging over here, it's not what we thought was going to be there, according to the geophys, which is actually super exciting, because it is frustrating sometimes if you're like, there was supposed to be a wall here, but at the same time, it really is archaeology in action. You know, you can think that you have one thing and then you wind up finding something else, and it really is the pieces fall into place as you do.
Yeah, well, I think it's super exciting. It's kind of like, it's like detective work, it's science, it's like history. I think it's super good. I think it's a super cool job that you guys have here, and you're all working super hard. So I'm going to get out of your way and let you dig up some more stuff, but thanks for teaching me about it.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
So I learned loads today about geology, archaeology, geophysics, or geophys, that they use to find all the stuff underground. So this archaeology stuff is super interesting. There's lots of science involved in it, and it's also kind of like mystery solving as well. So thanks so much to the Irish Archaeological Field School for having us down here. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next one.